Hi guys, welcome back to Heart Talk with Grace. My name is Emma Grace Sugonia. Thank you all for tuning in. And in this channel, we film about health, faith, family, and lifestyle. And in today's video, we are going to talk about something very interesting. Yeah, child abuse, like we all can tell from the title, child abuse. The word child abuse, I figured out that this is something that rings a bell in our minds. Whenever you hear the word child abuse, a lot of things come to our mind. But those are the things I myself choose to call it active abuse. Yeah, active abuse. Now, active abuse, there are so many examples. We have molestation, we have battering, we have verbal abuse, we have introducing a child to illicit content. Yeah. So, guys, these are active abuse. You see a child being with an adult and the adult is smoking or watching pornography, and that adult will be very comfortable. That's an abuse. Such acts, it's not good for a child. And I'm not going to dwell much on that because most of us have heard about it. We've read books, we've in fact, it's everywhere. But in today's video, we're going to talk about something different. These are the ones that I choose to call passive abuse. Yes, passive abuse. Now, this passive abuse, me as a person, I've had my own fair share of that abuse, and you as a person too have had your own fair share of it. That particular passive abuse, what I choose to call neglect abuse. Yes, neglect abuse. Guys, they are going to dwell more on neglect abuse. Now guys, let's bring it home. God loves what? Attention. He does love attention. Now, if our God loves attention, how much more we adults? We adults, most of us happen to be in a relationship where if our spouse don't get to call us, we'll feel, he has neglected me. He does not even call me. He does not do this. He does not do that. We'll complain and all that. If you feel like that, how much more a child? So if an adult feel loved, a child feel much more. And if an adult feel hurt, a child feel much more. And that is what we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about it extensively. We are going to be discussing this neglect abuse in 4 sections. In 4 sections. Yeah, first of all, we're going to discuss how a child is neglected. And secondly, we're going to discuss how neglect affects a child. How neglect affects a child. Then third, we are going to discuss how to identify a neglected child. You know, it's first thing to discuss how a child is neglected. Secondly, to discuss how neglect affects a child. Thirdly, to discuss how to identify a neglected child. Then the last but not the least is how to reassimilate a neglected child. So you can see that 4 different things that I mentioned, and we're going to take it one after the other. Okay guys, like I promised you guys that I'm going to be bringing someone to this show, and our guest is here in the person of Untitled Felix. That's my elder brother.
Wow. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I feel very delighted for this great opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we are talking about child abuse, neglect abuse to be precise. So I want to know, what do you think about neglect abuse?
Well, neglect abuse is one very overlooked topic in our today's society because it's something that has been happening for decades, and it's still happening all around us, and nobody is even in schools, it's in our churches, it's in our homes, it's in our relationships, it's in our office, it's in our workplaces. So I think it's a topic that we actually need to digress and scatter and see the skeleton that is inside.
Discuss how a child is neglected. Okay. I don't want to rush. I want to take your time and understand the question. How a child is neglected. Yes. So what do you think?
A child could be neglected in so many ways. In so many ways that we as parents or we as adults may not even know that we are inflicting such abuse on a child. Just a scenario, a child comes to his dad. Daddy, our teacher said that we should get this, and dad's like, go and meet your mother. They
do that a lot.
Yeah, it happens so many times, and you see the dad will be like, go and meet your mother, as if him coming on to you as a father, coming to seek that time with his father, coming to seek that personal one-on-one relationship You know, that thing he could easily go and tell it to the mother, but he chose to tell it to you.
The father.
That time he needs a bond. That was the time you'd be like, okay, what is it your teacher said? Because at that time that the child wants to talk something more. It's not just about what the teacher has told him. He wants to have that personal one-on-one connection with you.
The father.
So like, okay, what did your teacher say you should get? Okay, how are we going to get it? How is it supposed to be? Some of you as parents, your child will come back from school. You don't even sit down and have a one-on-one heart-to-heart discussion with your child. They'll be like, how was school today? How did it go? Who beat you? You know,
assignments.
You know, what kind of assignments? Help the child to practice those assignments. You don't even ask, who are your friends? You don't care about your child's day-to-day activity. All you know is, okay, this is the school fees. You give him money for school fees. This is money for books. You give him money for books. You don't even care how he's even buying those books. And even in church, who are the kind of people do they relate with? Who are their friends? What kind of friends do they have? What kind of relationship do they have to their friends? Some of us don't even know our children's best friends. And as parents, that should be our priority.
Yeah.
Because aside you as that parent, the second people that affects your children are the peers. You know, those people he connects with. So when you don't make out time to find out those things, you are actually neglecting that child. Yes, you are actually neglecting that child. Your child will come and tell you, daddy, today is our graduation. You'll be like, how much is for the graduation? So he gives you the bill and you just send it to him. No, it goes beyond that. You should be present there. That is what makes you a father. That is what makes you a mother. You should be there. That child actually wants you to be there. When he comes there and other parents are there and you are not there, it takes a psychological toll on that child. It has so many effects on a child, which I think we'll get to. So these are just little examples of ways that we could neglect our children. Mommy, my head is paining me. Mommy, my chest is paining me.
Even the ladies who
can't drink paracetamol. Some of you have daughters. You don't even know your daughter's menstrual cycle. You don't even know the cycle. You don't even know, even as a mother, even as a father.
All you know is go and get packed.
Some of you would think that this thing is just maybe when it comes to a daughter, it's just left for the mother. No. As a father, you should be concerned. How is my daughter's monthly flow? How does it occur? When you give this special attention to children, you see they will have this bond. There is this bond, this inseparable bond that will always be there, no matter how long or no matter how far.
Okay. Honestly, I'll get have a lot to say.
On.
Well, we are going to switch on now.
I think it's quite ambiguous, you know.
Yeah, it's quite ambiguous, and we actually overlook it. Yeah. So we're going to move to the next thing. How does neglect affect a child?
Neglect can affect a child in diverse ways. You know, it's not even something we can begin to list because there's no definite list. But we could just try to make some examples and see where we could go.
Okay.
Neglect can make a child to have different kinds of vices. Being disrespectful. Okay, you know, she'll just be disrespectful after all. Nobody is noticing me. When a child is not being given proper attention to, he could enter into stealing. He could begin to steal. You will see a child buying something. He buys this today. He buys things beyond his means, and because nobody is asking him questions, that kind of character can evolve. And you see tomorrow's enemy. There was this story about a criminal that when he was about to be shot, he called for his mom. And when he called for his mom, he had to bite his mom. It's a very popular story. And when they asked him, he was like, she didn't tell me. So that mother actually neglected the child. He neglected a certain aspect of that child's growth and development. So you see that it can affect the child in the way that child will start doing vices. All this prostitution you see, most of them have what we call father figure problems. There was no father figure in their life, so you just see them tend to go towards anybody that can give them less attention of fatherhood.
To lean on.
You get the slightest person that can give them the attention of fatherhood. You see them. You see
they'll just be that free.
I like it. I like men that are older. You know, all those things started from childhood. Most of them were neglected by their father. Okay, even some young guys like me, you see them. They say, I like older women because as they grew up, they had older people who gave them those attention that their mother did not give them, and when giving them those attentions, they crossed boundaries that their mother would not have crossed, and they've not seen it as a normal thing. So I think neglect as an abuse is the foundation of every other kind of abuse. Yes, because when you neglect a child, you see that child behave in despicable ways, and you see the father battering the child. You get? So neglect, which is a passive abuse, have led to what?
Physical
to an
abuse.
active physical abuse. Or when that child chooses to be stubborn, after all, nobody is noticing me, I can just say what I want to say, although after I'm not the most favored child. So what am I going to do, or how am I going to go about it? Do your worst. You see a child living that kind of do your worst kind of attitude. That is what neglect can do.
And it affects them in school as well.
It affects in everywhere, both in school,
in
both
church.
in church, both in their friends. You always turn out to be the bad eggs because they don't care. Nobody is looking up after them. Especially when it's even worse when it's in a group and you are giving attention to a certain type of people
and the other
or a
person,
certain type of your children and not giving attention to a certain. That is when it's
and
the effect is
sorry
worse.
to cut you short. In our current Nigerian home now, most of our parents they tend to do this favoritism stuff. Like they'll give birth to like 5 sets of children, okay, or 6 children, and out of those 6 children they'll choose those that they love. And it's not as if they don't like the others, but it will be obvious that they don't like them.
Yes.
And it will make those children withdrawn. And now if you happen to be in institution, or even if it's in secondary school, anywhere, you find that those children, even if they're in class, they're always on their own. They might be brilliant too. They might be very, very brilliant, but they turn out to something that might not be nice or that might not be good. It takes the grace of God to find a neglected child to turn out to be something good. So you see that it's really needs to be sensitized more, or we really need to talk about it very well, because
I just hope that this video will give the rise for the sensitization of this neglect as an abuse. It's as much as we hammer on rape, as much as we hammer on battering, as much as we hammer on verbal abuse, the necessary organs or organizations all over the world, United Nations, UNICEF, UNESCO, should all come together and see how they can spread the message that neglect is having and is taking a negative toll on children. It's taking a very, very big negative toll on children. The tolls are numerous to mention.
And this too, in our relationships today, you find that most people don't get to reach out to their spouse.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I grew up, that's how I am. It's not my fault.
You see a child growing up, and the next thing he'll tell you is that I'm not a talking person, or I don't like talking to people.
I don't know how to communicate.
Because when they were younger, they did not get most
that.
Of them anyways, because there are peculiar cases. But you see that most of them is because when they were younger, they did not tend to have that connection. They associate themselves from their parents. They associate themselves from their fellow siblings, from their peers, from their teachers. They are just on their own. You get? So those kind of children, when they are given attention, they would not have turned out that way. Most of them, anyways, because some of them just want to be, go to the left by all means. But for those that were salvageable, I think attention would have salvaged them. Attention would have brought them close. Attention would have given them that sense of belonging, that they are also part of this class, or they are also part of this family, or they are also part of this society. There are people we neglect in society today. We just.
So having said all that, I want us to discuss extensively now how to identify a neglected child.
Okay, how to identify a
because it's one thing to be neglected, it's another thing to identify that child has been neglected. So
children deal with things in different ways.
Okay.
There are children that will deal to a certain manner, a certain thing in an hyperactive manner, while there are some that will deal with it in quite an introverted manner. So I think one of the ways you can identify a neglected child is when that child is, unnecessarily withdrawn for no reason. When they're trying to have a family gathering, or when they're trying to have a family discussion, you see him giving little or no inputs. You see why he has grown, because over the years, those his inputs have not really mattered. So it's like, what am I saying? What are they? Let them listen to the favorite children. After all, they're the ones they are listening to. Even in class, you see they'll be asking questions that child would never raise up his hand. Most times they even know what to say, but they would rather not say because they've been neglected, they've been looked down on, they've been forgotten. So they don't care. They've created a wall of their own. They're always on their own. That's one way to identify a neglected child. He's always thinking to himself, he's always building fantasies in his head because he has learned a way to occupy his mind since he's not getting that interaction that he should get as a child that he is. He has decided to create so many illusions, so many fantasies in his head. Yeah, fantasies as a child is actually very good, but when that child leaves important things that excites most children and is having that time, because maybe when they're in a playground, others are playing, others are jumping up and down, jumping on bouncing castles, taking a horse ride or something, and you see a child just on his own, just in his head, maybe with music in his ear, and he's just there all through that time. Please, that child needs special attention. That child needs special attention. That child needs to be, worked on. That child needs to be seen rather. You get, you just like when your spouse does not call you for a certain amount of time, you want to get that spouse attention. You want to do what you can do.
As ladies
for
now,
women, they want to do unnecessary shakara and all this kind of stuff. So you see a child crying unnecessarily, wailing for no just cause, for the slightest of things. That child is wailing because that is the only way he can get your attention. You see some children being unnecessarily disobedient. They are just disobedient. Barb this kind of hair, they are just wanting to do this kind of hair. They are not doing this kind of hair because of peer pressure. Most times it's just to disobey you so that you can actually look at them. Since looking at them in the bad way is the only way you've learned how to look at them, fine, they will just want to create that, and children seek attention, especially from their parents, in so many ways. So when you see a child trying to get your attention, either as a parent or as a teacher, in unconventional ways, I think that we need to look at that child because that child has been neglected. And when I say unconventional ways, in ways that are not normal, you get. When let's say a normal child will want to be like, teacher, I have a question to ask, you get. But a child that wants to seek attention, maybe a child that has been neglected, may actually just be rude to that teacher.
Okay.
You get? That is his or her own way. Children, they don't really know how to express themselves. So being rude is the way that he or she feels he can get that teacher's attention. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think I understand.
That is just one way that you can identify a neglected.
Yeah, I have this friend. They call it tapping. She taps. Okay, they don't call it stealing. Tapping. So she taps, and I was wondering, at your age, you are still stealing. She'll tell me, Grace, I don't steal, I'm just tapping. So I was not trying to understand, why do you do that? Do you know the answer that I got? Okay. That the only way she can get to get the attention from her parents is by stealing their money. Okay, let me use a word, tapping her parents' money. Well, so you see now, in that child's mind, that's the only way she can be able to get the attention.
That is it.
But as time progresses, it will not become a habit. And it might not make her now, she will not only take from her parents, but it will not keep to develop into something that will affect her family, her society, in fact, everybody.
Which is not good.
You see, so neglect.
So I urge parents to be on the lookout for this.
Not just parents, teachers too. Adults,
elder siblings, elder ones.
Look out for your younger siblings.
We are just limiting today's topic to just children. This neglect of a thing, it goes beyond children.
Even you're neglecting my parents. So neglect, it goes on and on. It's not just child abuse. We need to look into it critically. So having discussed all of that, I think we need to, it's not just to dish out issues and all that without solution, right? So we need to discuss how to reassimilate a neglected child. So the solution now to the challenge, because most people out there, my viewers will be like, neglect. So what can we do now that we've neglected that child? What can we do now to help that particular child? So what do you think?
Yes, what we can do to help that child, it's in phases, and it's always one thing with children is we have different approach to different children, but the central thing we should all know is no matter the approach you are taking to try to get that child's trust back, to give that child back an attention, to give that child back attention, we need to know that it's not done in a day. Rome was never and has never been built in a day. So you see, once a child has been neglected for a long period of time, maybe since the child was born till he was 3, 4, 5 years, you've neglected that child passively anyway. So I'm not blaming you, and now you want to have that reconnection back. Don't just think that today that you start buying him ice cream and you got that all of a sudden that child is going to come back to you. No, they may be children, but their brain is actually very, very well developed. So they actually think in ways that we may not even comprehend, no matter how much we study them. So you should know that it's going to be a slow something. You try to bring them back to you. You try to ask them those questions you don't ask them before. Try to be interested in those aspects of their life that they're not interested. Your child loves video game. Have you ever made that time to want to even play that video game with him? Have you, as a parent? You don't just discourage it. Sometimes you walk into that situation.
You get involved.
You try to get involved, and
even for the ladies too.
Yes.
Get to know how their menstrual flows, like even their relationship with guys.
Get involved.
Try to know what's up.
Your son loves to play football. Try to know why do you even have passion for this football that you're always playing? When you try, you don't just force it on top of the matter. Try to go by the corners. You get maybe your child steals a lot. Let's say let's put that point. You could be like, try and know why that your child likes.
It's not just flogging and advising.
Get involved. Then once you get involved, before you know, you indirectly try
influence.
to know. Your child plays game a lot and he steals. Okay, he's playing game. You come and join him. You may not even know how to play that game, but the mere fact that you come to sit and daddy don't come follow me sit down. Yeah, now no see as they go. You are playing. As you are playing, you laugh, you win, you definitely, or you may win him. That is inconsequential. Then all of a sudden you'll be like, my son, that money that I took on the table, you guys are already laughing. That money that I took on the table, waiting you will use and buy self. It's going to come to him as a shock. Shock number one is that you did not shout that money that I took on the table, waiting you and buy.
Like a normal way you ask
the
him.
normal way you used to do it. So if there's ever a chance it's going to open up, it's going to open
in
up
that
here.
period.
You get, you'll be like, that is so nice and so nice. It is now at that moment you now say, okay, see, this thing what you do is not good. Why don't you ask me? Why don't you come to me? Why are you even taking this money in the very first place? You get, those are the things you can do. Or you'll be like, this thing that your teacher told you, why haven't you told it to me? Well, daddy. Then you as a parent also try to look at the other ways you've been reacting before. Has your child ever come to tell you something in confidence before and you went out to tell someone?
Or you now use it against him.
Or you use it
because that's what most of our parents do. You tell them something and they use it against you.
When you do things like that, cumulatively, that child may end up never telling you
anything at all
in this life. So you try and recollect, how have I reacted? And as parents, we should learn how to apologize to our children. Yes. You do something wrong to a child, and instead of you to
say sorry,
I'm sorry,
you now
get, the next thing you hear is Ikechuku, and I bought you ice cream. You get that is something our African parents do, forgetting that you actually need to open mouth
and say I'm sorry.
And say sorry. You accuse a child wrongly, and you find out that okay, this accusation I gave to my child, I was actually wrong. What was there is, hey, my son, I did not know. Yet I'm sorry. When you learn to say things like this, it's going to, grow back that bond.
Even some ladies, why they don't tell their parents things? Maybe you now meet your mom in confidence. Mom, I did not see my period last month.
Okay.
Every Nigerian parent will look at you like this.
Okay.
It's that kind of thing. Like and maybe next month, if you don't see it, the next time or maybe you not tell mommy, I'm going to see Chidimma. Are you sure that Chidimma can hang? Are you sure you're not going to those boys' place?
That was our last month.
That was our last month. He did not see you. That kind of thing. So that child, next time, she might not want to tell you anything again, or even tell you she missed her period. We don't need to sugarcoat all these things, but sugarcoating it is making things worse these days. So we need to spell it. We need to say it the way it is. So parents, for us to reassimilate our neglected child, we need to get involved. Yeah. Then secondly, I think prayer does a lot of magic. Prayer is the key. No matter what our parents do, prayer is the key. We need to kneel down and pray to God. And not about how often we or what we tell our kids. Most times you see a parent, you train your child finish, you do this, do that, and that child will turn out to be something you can't even explain. Yes, so oftentimes it's not just the physical training. Yeah. We still need the spiritual training. Yeah. We need to kneel down and pray for our kids, for our children. Prayer does a lot of magic that we might not even know. So while training our kids, we need to be praying for them.
Yes, there's something, there's a mistake people make, and I get offended when I hear things like that. Maybe when you see a child, I don't like to use the word wayward child, because there's no child that is wayward. But when you see a wayward child, then the next thing you hear, now papa will not train and wear. Now the mama will not train and wear. You get to hear stuff like that, and most times they are actually not true. You get, because a father or a mother or a parent collectively or a family can actually put heads together and train up a child, and that child will not come out the way they actually want that child to be, or that child will not exhibit the kind of character they actually instilled on that child. Take example, Samuel in the Bible, he had two children. Two children, you know, they did not go the way that the father would actually wanted them to have gone. Look at Eli, Hophni and Phinehas. They were actually totally different. Are you trying to tell me that Samuel was a bad father? Or are you trying to tell me that Eli did not train his children well? No, we should learn to pray. We should learn to commit our children into the hands of God. We should learn, you know, those people they meet, because outside your influence, they still have, or her peers are very, very big influences on your children. You know, the kind of materials they're exposed to, the kind of things they read, the kind of things they watch. You know, there are so many things that can influence. Let us, you know, pray as we do whatever we need to do. There are things we can't control. We can't even control the information they get outside. You cannot control the information they get online. No matter how you try to seize their phone or hold them from using phone,
they will still find a way.
Go out. They are still going. So there are things we can't control as parents. So that is where prayer comes in. You pray that as much as your children are exposed to those things that you cannot control, that God should give them discerning spirit. So always remember that this is something that my parents will not be comfortable with. This is something that my dad will not be comfortable with. This is something that my mom will not be comfortable with. You get, Apostle Paul said that I planted, Apollos watered, it is the Lord that giveth growth. So it is still God that is still going to do what? Give growth. In as much as we've learned this and we try to apply it and put it into practice, we should also learn to do what? Pray. We should learn to do what?
And as well have faith in our children. Yeah. Because you cannot just pray and then you don't have faith. You need to have faith in our children.
Have faith. You need to be comfortable enough to allow to know your child is matured enough to do what? To make certain decisions. You need to be matured enough to allow your children make some decisions on their own. Not like you just leave them. It's a guided decision. As they're making such decisions, you are watching them make those decisions. You are watching them make those mistakes. And as they make those mistakes, you correct them and say, okay, she see the way you should have gone, or you see the way you shouldn't have gone. Always be there for them. It's not when they make a mistake, she I told you. As they made that mistake, you call them out, you correct them, say,
correct them with love.
This is the way I told you to go. Now you've gone this way. Have you seen the way it has gone? You get, that child is most likely to learn than when you kabash on that child and you lambast him or her for making mistakes. So let us learn. We should get involved. We should be soft on them. You get, not too soft. You get, because the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. But you should also be cautious as you are not sparing that rod. You get, then we should pray.
Pray and have faith.
Prayers can never be overemphasized. Please let us do this, and you know.
Let's please see this particular video. We need to share it. We need to like. We need to comment. Even in our churches, whenever we are doing any symposium or doing anything, let's try to talk about this topic.
Let's talk about neglect. Neglect is something
it leads to other abuse.
It's the foundation of every other.
Yes, that's the right word there. When the child is
neglected, you see him behaving in ways he should not be behaving, and the next time you're already battering him. You are already, you know, giving him
and it leads to
you start telling your child you're a fool because that child is not behaving the way you
want him that child to behave.
You're already calling him, you're a fool, you are stupid, you are sorry for my vernacular. You get, Yoruba will say oloshi or that. Forgive my Yoruba, it's actually very salty, but that I believe you are getting my point. So please, let us not.
Even in our schools, when we are having a debate, let's talk about this topic.
Call your parents, call your children at all times, ask them questions.
Let's check on our children.
Get involved with your child's life, okay? So
they guys, I'm very much happy that you're on this show with me today. Guys, like I promised to people, I'm going to bring you guys juicy content, and this is just the first one. Just keep it locked up on this channel. We're going to bring in, don't touch it at all. So guys, very important, let's do it to like, comment, share, subscribe. To those that have already subscribed, I love you guys, thank you so much. And next video,
subscribe. Very important.
Subscribe.
Like. Don't watch
and
and subscribe.